Have I ever made a move for less money? Yes, I have. Okay, so I left Manchester United, signed for Birmingham City. I think it was a £6 million transfer fee.
So at Birmingham, you were on about 30 grand a week?
Yeah, so signed for Birmingham City. I think I actually signed for 26, I can't remember, 26 or 28 grand a week or something like that at Birmingham City. We got relegated that first season. We won the League Cup, it was 2011, beat Arsenal, but then we also got relegated. And I did really well. I got player of the season and I still wanted to play in the Premier League. Couple that with the fact that Birmingham, having got relegated, they realised they had to kind of cut their cloth a little bit, really. The high earners, which was me and a couple of others, they wanted to basically either sell us and get some money, recoup some money, or send us out on loan on the proviso that if Birmingham were to get promoted the following season, then we'd go back. So I went out on loan to West Brom, and Dan Ashworth was the chief exec at West Brom at the time, and he was, oh my God, he was like Daniel Levy. I promise you, he was like Daniel Levy, drove the hardest bargain, yeah, wouldn't give you anything. And they knew I was desperate to get out on loan to play first team football in the Premier League, right? So I went from 28 grand a week at Birmingham City to playing for West Brom in the Premier League on 23, I think I went down to. I dropped down to 23 grand a week, and then they put a few more bonuses in there. But essentially, I was earning less money the season after for doing really well as well. But it all worked out in the end because then I obviously did very well at West Brom. I ended up signing a 4-year contract with them. Wages went back up to, well, in excess of what I was on at Birmingham. So it kind of worked out in the end.
You can see why players either end up, Premier League quality players, end up staying in the Championship then, can't you? Because they don't want to take that backward step, or out of principle they go, no, I'm under contract here.
The thing that people don't ever often talk about is relegation clauses in contracts as well. There's, you look at the Premier League right now, you've got West Ham down at the bottom there, you've got Nottingham Forest down at the bottom there, and you've got players on £100,000 a week at these teams, yeah? And I guarantee you, West Ham and Nottingham Forest will have relegation clauses in their players'
It's a lot more common now, though, isn't it, Watto?
Yeah, no, the Southampton contract I were on, but I know the players were all the same. If you got relegated, it was 33%.
33% drop. Yeah. I when I got relegated from West Brom, I had a 60% drop.
Did you?
I got 60%. So I obviously went and signed for Watford, but
I don't blame you.
If I would have got relegated and stayed with West Brom, I would have gone down. I would have dropped 60% of my wages and been playing in the Championship. And virtually every other team will have at least a 25%.
Yeah,
probably more commonly is about a 50% wage decrease if you get relegated.
Wow, okay. Right, I've got a question for you, Watto, and then for you, Ben, same question. Really, really good question. What's the hardest conversation you've had in your career that you've had to have with somebody, either as a player or a coach?
I think the hardest conversations I've ever had, it's not necessarily dropping a first team goalie, because there would have been days or weeks leading up to it, and you're having conversations behind the scenes that we've got to step up a bit, X, Y, or Z. I think the hardest conversation is when you've had a young kid in the building, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6 years, or they've come through a longer period of time, and you've done your best, they've done their best, but it's the brutal realisation that you're not going to make it at our football club, and letting them go, because it's a very, very tough game, football, and it's a very difficult game to try and make it at whatever level you're operating at. And when you pull the rug from underneath a kid who's given everything but just hasn't attained the level, and you look in their eye and tell them that is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
and for parents being involved in that as well, because they hope and dream of what we talk about, Premier League wages, Champions League, international caps, but not every player or goalies I dealt with were ever going to get to the level. I hoped that we could give them enough to maybe drop down to a level that they found comfortable. But when you release a young player, I think that's the hardest one, because I know the PFA have got involved now, and there's a lot more help mentally and psychologically around it. But even though I would have helped to try and get them to a trial at a club or things like that, the support wasn't there years gone by, where now I think the PFA have really stepped up, because a lot of kids, that moment is life-changing.
Well, yeah, they've pinned everything on it, don't they? Have you ever seen a player let go for them to bounce back and have an unbelievable career?
In the goalies wise, no.
Really?
No, I haven't. No.
Wow.
Not one that's. I'm not saying they've not gone on and forged a pathway in a career, but nobody's ever
Gone to bigger and better.
Had the drop down and really re-established themselves and got back up to a level. And I think that's the brutality of the game. That I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass, but when you don't attain a certain level, the slope becomes very steep and drops off quickly unless you have got a certain capability mentally and psychologically.
It's an interesting question, that, because I've seen quite a few along the way where I never saw that they would probably go on to bigger things. I mean, when I was at Man United, we had Tom Heaton was there with me. Obviously, didn't work at Man United, but went off to then go and do really great things.
Good career.
England appearances. Sam Johnson, young lad, didn't know if he'd ever make it, left Manchester United, went on to be a Premier League goalkeeper. But there was a young lad at Man United called Ron Robert Zieler, okay?
Yeah, I remember.
Young German goalkeeper. He was nowhere near it. Nowhere near the first team, nowhere near, like, even the reserves. He'd never really even played for the reserves. And I remember he struggled in training quite a lot. He left, went back home to Germany, played for a German team, managed to get into the Bundesliga. He was the goalkeeper when Germany won the World Cup. The third choice goalkeeper, sat on the bench. He's got a World Cup winners medal for Germany. It is incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So I love the question and I love the answer from what I know. It is brutal for young lads, but I think sometimes if you've got it within you and you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to go and get it.
So what's the hardest conversation you cast your mind back you've ever had in your career? Is it with another player, a manager, what?
No, I think mine was probably the big turning point in my career, really, was when I left Manchester United, actually. So I remember playing a game and it was against, I know the game, I remember the game. Sunderland had a stinker. I absolutely had a stinker. It was the one where Kenwyne Jones challenged me, absolutely bullied me, headed
Was
it
it
in.
just that moment or was the game bad for you?
No, it was that moment.
I was going to say,
I was in a bad place anyway. I wasn't really enjoying myself or my football. I was still a young man. I didn't really understand where I was or what my place in this world was yet. And I remember playing this game. I got absolute hair dried from the manager, Alex Ferguson, after the game. And I came home and I had a conversation with my wife, and I remember crying my eyes out saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this. I can't do it. I'm not enjoying it. Yeah, it's too much for me.
And how old were you then?
Mid-20s I'd have been.
You'd been 24, 25.
25. And I remember saying, it's too much for me. It's too much. I can't deal with it. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm on the football pitch because there's too much pressure and it's taking control over my body. I remember having this conversation with her and I was crying my eyes out. But then that in itself flipped itself to the point where I got it into my head, actually, vocalising it to my wife. And then that got me to a place where I accepted that I wanted to leave. So that a couple months later, had a conversation with the manager and he said, listen, I think it's best for all parties if you actually do leave. If you go out, Birmingham City have made a bid for you.
Are you still hungry to play football, though?
Oh, I wanted to play football, dying to play football. But I think if you'd have been able to have a conversation with me or an interview with me at that moment in time, you'd watch it back and you'd go, oh my God, you're like a shell of a man.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Do you know what I find interesting is people always say, you've got to have a certain mentality to play for these clubs and stuff. And forgive me if I'm wrong with you, I think you developed that mentality
much later,
but it was later. So I do think that if you were 28, 29,
it's a different time.
I think that could have been the right place for you.
It could have been the right place for me, yeah, for sure. I totally agree. But it definitely wasn't at that moment in my life. We'd just had kids, everything was changing.
But very difficult for any younger player to go on the dance floor at Old Trafford.
And look at how Ben came through as well. You weren't at academies, you weren't conditioned within football clubs. So actually you were just thrown into it. Like that journey from Stoke and being on loan at Wrexham and then Man United, that was a whirlwind.
And I had the biggest boots in the world to fill with Edwin van der Sar as well. It was impossible, honestly. But like I say, it turned me into actually understanding that I did need to leave and then signing for Birmingham City, moving back home so I was closer to friends and family. Honestly, I felt like this. Oh, the weight had lifted. I felt freer. I felt happy. And the season at Birmingham City, like I say, even though we got relegated, we won the League Cup. Personally, on a personal note, I had a great season, Player of the Year. My career really started from that point onwards. Just want to let you know that if you are watching this clip on YouTube, you can watch the full episode on Spotify and our Fozcast YouTube channel.